Hello, my name is Ryan Daza, and this is my final widgets project. What inspired me to make this project was my love for tabletop role-playing games, such as Dungeons and Dragons, in which a part of the game is to keep track of your inventory through pencil and paper. And I thought, why not make it into a command like prompt to make it your inventory easily accessible through typing the name, the weight, which is very important, the cost, and how many of an item you have. And so through the use of classes and containers, I'm going to show you how I made an inventory system through containers. As you can see here, this is the main function of the code, in which the first command prompt is to show the different switch cases that will trigger the different functions for the inventory class. And so case 1 is going to add an item, case 2 is going to display an inventory, and case 3 is going to remove an item. If you type in 4, it's going to break out of the while loop and end the program. And as I'm going to show you in the next sections, I'm going to show you what each function for each switch case does. To start off with, here you have to define the item class, in which there are going to be 5 main components to making the item. The name, the description of the item to know what your item does in the game, the weight of the object to make sure that you don't exceed your weight capacity, your carrying load in the game, and the quantity of the items that you have, and the price for which you can possibly sell said items. And these are all under the private sector so that no other class, say, is going to access these members. And here in the public section, you're going to see the first constructor for the item, in which you need to put the 5 different components of the item: the name, description, weight, quantity, and price. And here they are all assigned NDWQP to respectively apply to each component. Here you can see the getters, the string name, the string description, the double weight, because it's going to be in pounds and it can be fractions of a pound involved, the quantity of the object, and the price of an object down to the cent. And for each getter, it's just going to return each individual component. And for the setters, it's to individually set each component of the item, which for the all purposes of this coding project, to simplify, aren't really necessary. But if I did need to use these setters to individually manipulate an object, I could. But for all intensive purposes, I don't need to use these just yet. And here at the bottom, you can see the display function, which whenever it is called for the item class, you are going to see its name, its description, weight, and quantity and price. Now I'm going to explain how that item class is used in the inventory. So here in the private sector, I'm going to make a vector to contain all these items. And the vector is called items. In the public section of the inventory, I'm going to show the add function, like to add an item, where after you select the add item prompt, it's going to instruct you to enter the item name, in which it says cin ignore, which means that it is going to ignore the first input buffer, and then it's going to get the whole line that you type in. So it allows you to input a full line. So like 2 words if you want like a first and last name to this object. And for the description, it's also going to get the line to make you add a full sentence if need be. The weight, which it only has to be a double, so only one input. The quantity, again, also one input. And the price, which is also one input. Once you finish selecting all the components, it's going to construct a item through the constructor that we made. And it's going to show that the item was added successfully. And it is going to use the item's pushback function, which is a thing we learned for the containers and to add multiple members into a memory location. For this next section, I'm going to explain the remove item function, in which it's going to start with seeing if the vector is empty. And if it is empty, it's going to tell you that the inventory is empty and there's nothing to do. And it's going to return and do the main function again, where it's going to show you all the prompts to choose from. If the vector isn't empty, it is going to instruct you to enter the name of the item that you want to remove. Here you can see cin ignore to get the whole line of the name and not just the first letter. And then it's going to tell you how many you want to remove. So if you have duplicates of a certain item, this for loop is going to run that amount of times. If the item in the vector is the same as the name that you inputted, it is going to erase that item. And the beginning is going to be shifted to the next. And then it is going to tell you that the item that you selected has been removed successfully. And then return. And it is going to run that for loop until the number of removals that you inputted. And there is also a possibility that you might not find that item. And here is why it's going to show item of what you chose was not found in the inventory. Last but certainly not least, I'm going to explain the display inventory function of the inventory class. First, there is going to be an if statement to verify that there is an item in the items vector. If it's empty, then it is going to display that the inventory is empty and then return. And then it is going to go back to the initial prompt where you get to choose all the options to add, display, and remove items. If there is an item in the vector, however, then it is going to show the inventory through this ranged based for loop, in which it is going to use this item reference applied through each member of the vector. And it is going to display each item reference until it is done. And that is how I'm going to show you how the project runs. Here, you're going to see what the first command prompt shows, where the add item, display inventory, and you can remove an item. If I choose, let's say, 5, it's going to say that it's an invalid choice. So I have to choose one of these 4 options. So I'm going to add an item first. I gotta add the name. But let's add myself, Ryan Daza. Description: I am a coder. Maybe. I am 167 pounds. There are 3 of me, and I cost, say, $10. The item was added successfully. Now I'm going to display my inventory, which, if everything goes well, it should show the item that I just added. There it is. It shows the item name, description, weight, how many, and the price. Now let's say I want to remove this item. I have to type in the name exactly. How many do I want to remove? Just 1. Item was removed. Now let's check the inventory by displaying the inventory. It says that my inventory is empty. And there it's going to show that everything works as intended. And now we can show the final process that is going to exit the program. In conclusion, the hardest part about making this coding project was the remove item function, because as the code can take in any amount of quantity of any item you decide to put in the inventory, that quantity value isn't actually representative of how much of that item is being stored. It is just a value that it displays. And so the remove item function can't remove, say, like if you input an item to be 10 in quantity, you can't remove it to be 9 in quantity. Instead, you'd be removing the item as a whole. The remove item function, the main purpose of it is to essentially remove the entire item if there is a duplicate, say to keep things more organized, or yeah, but it doesn't actually remove the quantity. It doesn't lower the quantity in said item. And honestly, trying to figure out how to make it change the quantity and delete the item when quantity is 0 was a little difficult for me, but I am okay with leaving it as a function that can remove an item to allow you to rewrite an item. If there is such a duplicate, you can remove that item from the inventory to clear up storage.